Hi YouTube viewers, it's been a while since I've done a video, but I decided in this video I'm going to answer a few questions that I've gotten about my sleepaway camp filming locations in Waco, Georgia, also called Bremen, Georgia, but it's in the small town of Waco. And well, I had been interested in this place for like months and months, and I couldn't exactly pinpoint an exact location on where it was. And I didn't even know it was filmed in Georgia. To be honest, I thought it never crossed my mind that it was. And one day I was happening to watch the movie, and I saw at the end of the credits you could see where it said special thanks to Camp Waco, and it also said special thanks to the fire department of Bremen, Georgia. And at that point, it sparked an interest in me, and I knew that I had to go there ASAP. But I wasn't going to make any special trips to go there simply because, it's about an hour away from me, and I hate driving. But I had decided in the future that if I was going to visit, it would be when I had to go down to that area for some other reason. So I decided just to just to knock two birds out with one stone. And it turns out that I had to be in that area for some miscellaneous reason. I can't remember, but I decided that once I was done doing what I was going to do originally, that I would just stop by and see if I can find the place. Well, it was me, my mother, and my sister, and we decided to go try to find the location. And we went to this one place called Yogi Bear Jellystone State Park or something, and it's basically a RV camp where people can bring their RVs and plug it in and, stay there for the night or whatnot. And I had thought originally that they had torn the camp down, and that was probably the place where it used to be. So I was a little upset. So I did more research, and come to find out, I was on a website and they said the place still existed and that it was very difficult to get to. But I didn't let that stop me. And one night I was very bored. I had nothing to do, and I was off for the next week or so because I think I was on vacation or a paid vacation. And I went to the camp. Well, I actually got my car, drove about an hour, 15 minutes. And once I arrived, I was like, before I arrived, I was like, well, maybe I'll just drive my car down the trail because I had found I went on Google Maps and I typed in Camp Waco and it came up, and I saw that there was a long trail. And I was like, well, okay, I'll just drive my car down the trail. Well, little did I know, once I arrived, the trail was cut off by a gate. And I'll include a picture of that in this video. And I was immediately disappointed because there's no way. It was nighttime. It was around 12 or 1 a.m. and it was at nighttime, and there was no way I was going to pursue this place on foot. But I took a picture of it, and like I said, I'll include it in the video. And so I was really disappointed, but I was like, you know what? At least I know that it may still be there. So I kept hope. And my sister and I decided that we'd go another day. So fast forward a month or so, and my sister was not available at that time to go. So I kind of just not lost interest, but I kind of just lost sight of it. It kind of just slipped out of my mind. Well, fast forward about a month, there was this guy that was friends with my cousins, and we decided that we would go. So I went and bought some flashlights. We pursued, and then we got in the car, and it was just me and him, and we went up to there. We drove about an hour and 15 minutes again. And once we got there, we drove the hour and a half, hour, 15 minutes. And once we got there, I parked my car at the beginning of the gate, and we decided to pursue the place on foot. And let me just start by saying that this place is very hard to get to, very creepy, especially at night. Even during the day, it has a very weary feeling to it because it's abandoned, and it's just plain woods everywhere in sight. So we get down this trail, we're walking and walking and walking, and down the whole trail you hear nothing but eerie noises, which is expected because it is in the woods and it's basically out in the middle of nowhere. And I was more afraid of running into a bear or something. That's the last thing that I wanted to do. So I was skeptical about the place still being there, the cabins and all that. But I decided, at least I'd go take a look and just kind of fulfill my curiosity in a way. I just had to see if anything was there still. So it took us about 20 minutes to get down the trail. And let me just start off by saying, unless you have a 4-wheel drive, you will not be able to get down this trail. So for anyone that's actually interested in possibly pursuing the camp, don't plan to go by car. If anything, you just need to have a 4-wheel drive, because the roads are very rough and very bumpy, and there's like gaps in the road. And I mean, if you go down there in a 2-wheel drive, you probably won't get your car out of there. You'll need a tow truck, and now that it just would be very disastrous. And yeah, so we finally arrived at the main camp, and to my surprise, there were buildings still there. I couldn't necessarily say which buildings were using to film at that point, because it was so dark. Even though we had flashlights, I just couldn't really recognize anything. I mean, at one point I was like, well, I wonder if this is actually the camp. And so we walked around the camp, went and saw the lake and all that. And I was a little bit weary of it, because I was like, well, this doesn't really look like the camp from the movie. Well, I decided, okay, well, maybe I'll just come back during the day at a future date. And that's what happened. I think I've been so many times that it's hard to actually pinpoint an exact date or time frame of when I actually went. But we went. It was me and my, I believe it was me and my, oh no, it was me and my friend David. We went, and during the day we got dropped off, because there's really nowhere to park your car in that area. I mean, there's houses across the road, and there's also a church up the road, which fast forward a few months later, we actually parked at that church. But rewinding back to where I was, me and my friend David, we went down there, and I took a lot of pictures, which are included in the video. And I realized that this place was the place from the movie, because during the day you can see things better, and you can notice details that you wouldn't notice at night. And I took a lot of pictures, and I was just very, as a fan of Sleepaway Camp, preferably the second one and third one, it was just a great sight to see. I mean, this is a place that I didn't think existed anymore. You know, rumors were that it was torn down, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. And I was very, very, very relieved that it wasn't torn down. And most of the buildings are still there. The cabins, the boys and the girls cabin, a little bit of the building is standing up of the boys and girls cabin, but the back of the cabins have collapsed, but the facade of it is still up. It's like up. But it could be down by now, because I haven't been in 5 or 6 months. So it's possible that it actually might be down now. And the abandoned cabin is still there. Although what I found out at a future date was that the door had been taken off the hinges, I guess, by a very big fan of the films, Part 2 and Part 3. And someone took the door off the cabin. But I did happen to get a few artifacts myself. You know, I got, if you remember the building where Allie and Rob had the sex scene in, I actually got part of that door from that red building. I actually have it in my car at the moment. And so I've been to the place a few times, and I just love the place. I fell in love with it since I first been there. Like, it's just amazing. It's it's just beautiful. I don't know how to explain it. And I had before I even went to the camp, I had seen a few interviews on that website, the Sleepaway Camp Films website, and a lot of people were saying that the place was haunted and whatnot. And I'm very skeptical by nature, but I will say that I had a few experiences down there. One in particular was, I didn't actually encounter anything at that point, but I had took a lot of pictures, and I think I took a ton of pictures at night when I first went. It was at night time. I got the pictures home, and as I was looking through them, I came up on one picture that I had took of the abandoned cabin, and you could see a clear face in the right part of the window. I mean, it's clear as clear. I mean, you can see it very clearly. And also, me and my friend, we went into the little bathroom area where the Allie and Rob sex scene happened. We were in that bathroom area, and one day we were just joking around, and we were like, okay, well, let's try to see if we can record any EVPs. Well, we didn't record anything. Unfortunately, we didn't get this recorded, but as we were trying to like talk to something, if there was something there, we were sitting in the bathroom area, and Sorry about that. And as we were listening, we could hear what sounded like footsteps outside the building, kind of like walking around the building. And the building's like a rectangular shape, but if I could hear something walking around the building, really, it was clear as day. I just found it funny how we heard the footsteps after we asked if anyone was there, and that was very creepy in itself. But I will answer a few questions that I've gotten. First is, how do I get there? How do I get to Camp Waco? It's fairly easy now that I've been there so many times, so it's pretty easy to explain. But if you're coming from Georgia or Florida, you're going to somehow get to the I-20 West and take I-20 West to exit 9 Waco. And then once you get off the exit, you take a left and you go about a mile down that road, probably less than a mile. And I'm not really good with distances and all that, but you go about a mile down that road, and if you look to the left, you're going to see two trails. They're very prominent. They're very easy to notice. Two trails. One has no gate, and it's just a long trail. And then the second one, which is right after that gate, or after that trail, has a gate that cuts off. And if you're coming from the states to the left of Georgia, like if you're coming from Alabama or more left over, you're going to somehow get to the I-20 East and take exit number 9 Waco. And instead of taking a left at the exit, you take a right at the exit. And like I said, just go down that road and it'll be about a mile and you'll see the trails on the left. And let me say this. I would suggest, if you're going to pursue it, then you need to have someone there to drop you off, because the place has nowhere to park. I can't really stress that enough. And you have to realize this is in a very small town, so any type of outside things that come in, people are going to they're going to be very weary of. And just recently, when I went the last time, there were private property signs posted everywhere. Whereas before it was just one private property sign, but it had already been taken down, but you could see it laying down on the ground. But now they have them all over the trees and everything. So if you're going to go, you need to be dropped off, because there's 2 houses right across the street from the trails. And I have a feeling that if they see you, that they would probably call the police or something, and that's trespassing. So really, I would just advise you to be dropped off, or the second thing you can do is, if you can't be dropped off and you're in your car or whatnot, you can just go a little bit further past the trails, and there's a church on the right. And make sure you go on a non-church operating day, and you just park in that church parking lot and then walk back to the trails. But you have to be really careful, because any type of outside things in a small town especially, it's not like you're in a city. Anything small town, people are going to be very wary of you, because you're just basically walking all over their property and everything. But the place is private, and a lot of vandalism has gone on. Like, just be very, very, very careful, because the number one thing that I was always scared of is running into some wild animal like a bear. I've seen snakes and all that, but I've yet to come across a bear. But this place right here, actually, now that I think about it, when I was walking on the trail one time at night, we had the flashlights on full blast, and we pointed toward the ground, and we could see bear prints, what was clearly bear paw prints, like going up the trail. And so that creeped us out, because they both looked fresh and it had just rained. So it looked like it had just walked on there. And it was very terrifying. But thankfully, needless to say, we didn't run into anything. What was another question that I get very often? Is everything pretty much still there? No. The mess hall, or what you would call the dining hall, is not there. It's no longer in existence. Also, even though the boys and girls cabins are there, they're very hard to get to, especially during the summer when all the weeds have grown back. Now, if you want to get to the like boys and girls cabin, now would probably be the best time to go, because all the weeds are going to start dying off. And when I went in the summertime one time, it was so hard I couldn't get to them, because kudzu was everywhere. The weeds were just thick. And but I will say that the dining hall, the foundation is still there, but the actual building is not. Like, we actually walk down the stairs of the mess hall. There's certain parts to walk on still, but be very careful, because it could collapse at any point. And there's a big hole in the foundation of it. But you can still go downstairs, and there's stuff downstairs. The whole downstairs is still there, but it's like the upper part is gone. But yeah, and then the lake is obviously still there, but the docks are not. And the place is very huge. Let me say this, very huge. It's not small by any means. This place, you have to realize that the actual camp is very considerably small compared to the woods around it. There's miles and miles of trails, and the camp is one little speck, like just literally just one little part of the woods. But the rest of the woods is like it's trails going. I mean, you could easily get lost. So I would suggest also the easiest way to get to the camp, let me say this, is when you park your car, wherever you park it, you go wherever the trail is, where the gate is, go down that trail. Just keep going straight. You're going to see a water tower. It's very hard to see at night, but if you just kind of shine your flashlight or whatnot, you'll see the water tower. Go past the water tower, just keep going straight, and you're going to see where there's going to be a fork in the road, which is also where the news reporter met her death. But you're going to see a fork in the road. Take a left at the fork. Don't go right, because if you go right at the fork, it's going to take longer for you to get there. It'll cut off. If you take left at the fork, it'll be your walking time will be cut down by 10, 15, 20 minutes, depending on how fast you walk. So that's really all I have to say about that. But the place is beautiful. I did some research on it, and it used to be a diabetic camp from 1970 to 1979, and it was also leased out. Based on some newspaper articles that I have seen, it was leased out to a lot of different camps during the 80s, but the place closed down mid 80s. There was no more activity past 83, 84, based on my research. Yeah, so the place is very beautiful. I can't really stress that enough, especially during the summertime. During the wintertime, it looks very bland because the trees are all, like, the leaves are no longer on the trees or anything, so. But all I have to say is just be very careful and just try to stay out of sight, because there's people that live around that area. They don't actually live in the camp itself, but they live like near the trails, like the beginning of the trail. So just be very careful and try not to be seen. I can't stress that enough, because if they see you going the trail and if they think you're up to something, they're probably going to call the police. Like, oh, I will give you this one experience me and my friend Tim and my friend Dustin had. We were going down the trail, and this was at night. We couldn't go during the day because me and my friend Tim, we worked during the day. And at that time I worked during the day too, but now I work night shift. But at that time we worked during the day, and there was no way we could have went during the day. So we decided to go at night. And it was on a Saturday night, and the most frightening thing happened. I had been a few times before me and Tim actually went, and I had never encountered any human being down there. Nothing, like during the day or night. But this one night we went, it was on a Saturday, we went down the trail, and we were getting to where I was telling you about the fork in the road. We were getting to that part of the road. We were kind of near the water tower, and all of a sudden we saw this light coming up the road, and we couldn't see what it was. All we saw was a reflection of light, or just a big ball of light. And we started hearing motor sounds. I'm like, oh my God, it's someone down this trail. And I had never encountered anyone on this trail before, day or night. And all three of us, we all immediately jumped into the woods out of sight, because I don't want to be seen on this property. Because, to be honest, like, for the lack of a better term, there's a lot of hillbillies in the area, like redneck type people. So I really didn't want to be seen by anyone. So we basically jumped. And by the way, Tim had his car parked at the gate. So he was worried about his car the whole time, but we jumped in the woods, and the person rode by very slow. I thought he had seen us. I mean, I was pretty positive he had seen us, but he didn't. But so he kept riding. And so we were like, oh, it's all right. And the guy somehow managed to drive past Tim's car. He managed to miss it, and he left. And we thought that was the end of it. So we were down by the mess hall, and we started hearing like motor sounds again. And it was like, oh my God, they came back, and we were terrified. And we decided just to leave, and we avoided this truck the whole time. But once we got toward where the fork in the road was again, when we were coming back from the camp, going up the hill, we saw the light again. And I guess the people just gave up on trying to find us, but they knew we were there because Tim's car was parked at the front of the gate. So we knew for a fact they knew someone was there. And so they left again. They managed to squeeze by Tim's car, and they left. And we all decided to take a run for it back to the car. That way, if they did come back, we could at least be gone. And we got in the car and we left. And that was terrifying, because I don't want to be caught out there. Because if someone got killed, they could easily hide our bodies down there, and I did not want to be caught down there. I just didn't want to be seen by anyone else down there. It just wouldn't have been a great experience. So overall, just be careful. If you do happen to come up on cars, I mean, it's at your own risk, but I would suggest staying out of the way, because, there people do go down there. If you go on a weeknight, you're probably less likely to run into somebody, because I always went during the week, but it's that one night when we went on a Saturday night that I ran into someone, and people get drunk and stuff. So just try to stay out of sight, and there's a lot of places to hide around there. So if you see a car or whatnot, they're in the car. So if you just stay out of the way, there's plenty of places to hide until they leave. But I will, like I said, take my word for it, don't park at the gate. Park at the church or have someone drop you off, period. That way, if someone does come down the trail, they won't know you're there, because there's no car right there at the beginning of the gate to indicate someone is there. All right, well, that's it. And if you have any other questions, just put them down in the comments below. Also, subscribe. And if you comment and if you have a question, I'll answer it. And if I get enough questions, I'll just answer it in a future video at another date. All right, well, that's it for this video. Thanks for listening. And I just recently got a message or a post from Chris S. That's the screen name, is Chris and the letter S. What you need to do, because I got your question, you basically said that you wanted to go for you and your wife's anniversary. Well, yes, the property is private. However, I don't really think people really scout that area very much. So I think you're more likely to get away from it. And as I was saying before, just don't park your car where it can be seen, because people go down that trail. Sometimes you can still see tire tracks and all that. So long as your car is not seen and you park at the church that's a little bit up the road, you'll be perfectly fine. I mean, it's really very simple. You just park at the church and then walk the trail. And it takes a good 15-20 minutes to actually get to the camp itself. Once you're on the trail, it takes like 15-20 minutes. And like I said before, when you get to the fork in the road past the water tower, you just take a left and you'll be there in 15, just depending on how fast you walk, 15-20 minutes. And it might take you longer to walk since you have to park at the church and then walk back. So to add on another 5 minutes, so about 25 minutes in all if you walk fast. But if you want to take the detour or the scenic route, then you would just keep going straight, take a right at the fork. That's a scenic route. But I would suggest you go now, because as of the last time I went, which was about 5-6 months ago, there were orange markers on the trees, which to me indicates that construction might be getting ready to happen. They might have already sold the property. That's why it became private property all of a sudden. So that's my theory, because I went up there once and there was a realty sign up. So basically, I think the land's for sale and they're getting ready to tear some stuff down, because I saw fresh orange markers on the tree, which, like I said, means construction. So just make sure you go ASAP or you won't be able to see this place. Thank you.